Why do you think this movie goes so hard? What is it about this movie that makes it so deranged, in your opinion?
Yeah, because I think that this is actually like a cursed movie. It's like watching The Ring or something. You watch this movie, and especially for independent filmmakers, you watch this movie, and then, you know, when you're in the middle of editing something or trying to get work done on your movie, Andrew Getty shows up at your house with like a bag of heroin and says, well, we should be doing this instead.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Our friend and returning champion, Nathan Dalton. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
again.
The king of the haunted house of pancakes himself has returned and has brought us a cinematic gift for this Wednesday. Would you like to introduce the movie you picked?
Yeah, this movie is called The Evil Within. I think that if I was to give the synopsis of it, I would be doing the movie a disservice. So I'll like kind of start at the end of it. It's kind of about it's a revenge story where a mentally handicapped man, Dennis, who's played by Frederick Koehler, gets revenge on his brother, Sean Patrick Flannery, for a violent attack that caused his traumatic brain injury. Yeah. So yeah, that's like a piece of the old Dennis speaks to the mentally challenged Dennis through a mirror and in his dreams and kind of manipulates him to get his revenge.
Yeah, so what about this movie? Why do you think this movie goes so hard? What is it about this movie that makes it so deranged, in your opinion?
Yeah, because I think that this is actually like a cursed movie. This is not, it's not the movie. Because the movie is weird, but the movie is like the first five and the last five. You know, it's like a movie that is very strange in the beginning and very weird at the end.
Yeah.
And the middle is kind of a journey. But the
I beg to differ. I have some heater quotes that I wrote down.
Don't get me wrong, there is a lot, but really, it is like a cursed movie. It is like, you know, it's like watching The Ring or something. You watch this movie, and especially for independent filmmakers, you watch this movie, and then, you know, when you're in the middle of editing something or trying to get work done on your movie, Andrew Getty shows up at your house with like a bag of heroin and says, well, we should be doing this instead. You know, like, that is, let's just not do that. Let's do this instead.
It is a bizarre place the movie starts, right? Because I think your point, it does feel like two movies. Because when it started...
It's way more than two movies.
Well, that's a fair point. When it started, I was kind of like, oh no. I was getting like a Skinamarink vibe where I was like, is this going to be the whole movie? The fucking like... imagery and the fucking voiceover, which feels like it goes for like 5+ minutes at the start. And I was like, is this gonna be the whole fucking movie? And then it stops and goes into more of a traditional kind of indie horror movie, and then at the end we're back.
You're missing the greatest reveal, I think, in cinematic history, where you get introduced to Frederick Koehler's character telling his dreams, like narrating his dreams, and you see the surrealist imagery. And then he goes on a dark ride, and then when the ride's over, he's like pissed at his mom because he's like, that was supposed to be the scariest ride ever, and they lied to us, they tricked us. And then the mom's like, what makes you think the ride's over? And pulls off her glasses, and she has a mouth. She has mouths in place of her eyes. A very like Corinthian looking. It's creepy.
We've all had that fantasy. It's fun.
Yeah, and then he kind of wakes up, and when he wakes up, you see him in the sunny place. And first of all, the narration that he has had for that beginning part is like so overwritten. It's like it was written with a thesaurus in hand. Just like, I can't remember all there are French words being dropped. He's like saying mise en scène. He's saying he's doing all of that. He just sounds very awful.
Someone's trying to pull him off stage at the local coffee shop open mic, and he's just like fighting his way back on stage. I've got more to say.
Bringing out all the bangers. And
hey, but before we though get too far into the beats of the movie, I like wrap up what you were going to say, but I'd love to go back to what you were talking about with it being a cursed film. You were sort of hinting at
there. Yeah.
Some important context. to the creation of
Oh,
film.
that is true. There is a lot of other stuff involved in this film.
It's mostly context. I'm going to say this movie is a this is a twisted movie mainly because of the context. But let me just get the first reveal out of the way because it is such an exciting one. Because you get this entire narration, and then after this tortured, overwritten, just overwrought dialogue and all this imagery, you then cut to Frederick Koehler saying, like, "This is me now." Well, we get a Michael Berryman introduction and all that, but after all of this overwrought dialogue, we see him in the present, and then he's like, "Oh, you're gonna have to get used to my normal speaking voice." And then he is, I don't know how to explain it. He goes full radio. You know, he's full radio or full...
It makes you think of the discussion they have in Tropic Thunder about Ben Stiller's ploy to win an Oscar. And you're like,
he went.
This is a choice.
He went all the way.
And
more credit to him. And just to be clear what we're talking about, he is playing a mentally challenged individual. I don't want to say that he has Down syndrome, because that's not in the movie. He does not have Down syndrome. This is a traumatic brain injury.
They kind of cover what would be kind of a uncomfortable performance because it is a fist-induced trauma.
Yeah.
Right? So you can play with it a little bit and hopefully not offend as much. But it is a shocking new reality we start the movie. But I will say that line is fucking haunting, though, when he's like, my external voice is not as intricate as my internal voice. And I was like, that's actually a surprisingly scary addition to what then plays out like a choices.
It is a turn. I mean, it's a full like Giovanni Ribisi and the other sister.
The other sister.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape? There is a lineage of these performances that were maybe not well considered.
Yeah, directly after that line, when he's like, "You'll have to get used to my new speaking voice." When he says his first line, I'm sorry, I am not that person, but I laughed so hard the first time I heard it, just because it's like, oh my God, are we really
gonna fucking do this?
Yeah.
It kind of carry. Yeah. Anyways, back to the cursed reality that surrounds. There's so many things to talk about with this movie. Would you like to explain some of the cursedness of the production itself?
Yeah.
Before we get into the movie.
So first of all, let me say that I was actually friends with the editor and producer on this movie, Michael Asari, who...
I wondered how you even knew about this. I had never heard of this film.
Yeah, our kids played together in the West Hollywood Park, and I would talk to him while he was finishing up this movie and trying to get distribution. But the things that he told me, it's just insane, like what they had to go through. So the starter is that this movie started production in 2001. They started production in 2001.
And you can tell.
Jesus Christ, it didn't come out till 2017, right?
2017.
Oh.
And Getty died. Andrew Getty died. This is
the writer-director?
The writer-director, heir of the J.P. Getty fame, who's, the Getty Center, everything.
Oh, is that right? He's a Getty Getty.
He's a Getty Getty. So this Getty is, he's like every independent filmmaker. He's like all of us. He just wants to make his movies with his billions of dollars of
I was going to say, there's one
money.
Slight distinct difference between that and the rest of us.
But that's what this was. This was his version of an independent movie, which he made for $6 million. And all of the locations are shot in his house. So from 2001 until his death in 2015, he was making this movie. He was like all the time. So this is why it's a cursed movie, because we are filmmakers. We have all looked at an edit of something and watched it and been like, it needs to be better. I don't like this. That perfectionist nature comes out, and you want to change things, and you want to, well, he did. And he had the money to keep doing that. And he did that for 15 years. He made this movie for 15 years and then died before he ever saw it released or before it was ever completed. And so that level of perfection and just redoing everything, it was recast. It was shot with different people. I think the only two people who made it through this entire movie were Frederick Koehler and Berryman. like those were the only two that were there the entire time. Everyone else
and Berryman had his own health issues too, right? He was slowing down production.
Well, and like if you look at the characters, you can see that they age. So Frederick Koehler goes, at times he's like really young, and then because I think he had just graduated college. He was like 24, 25 when he first started production, and he was turning 40 when it was.
I'm trying to imagine my own like side by side Facebook memories picture. I'm like, God damn.
So that's how long he had to play this character.
That's so interesting. Well, I was noticing that because I was like, this came out in 2017, and I was telling Heath, I actually was hanging out with Sean Patrick Flannery at this phase.
Yeah.
Because I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai at the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym he owned in West Hollywood.
So I know someone who did that too. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I was hanging out there, and like, I'd be like,
Andy, did you know Andy Donovan?
Oh, yeah, dude. He was one of the coaches there. He's a great dude.
So Andy Donovan.
Fucking love Andy.
So Andy
he was
Donovan,
the one that would always make fun of me because I'd show up at noon after a drug bender or whatever. Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, it's so, like, I'm just not a morning person. He'd be like, brother, it's 12:30. And I'm like, I know, Andy, shut up. Like,
yeah. So Andy was like my other connection on this, where I would get the Sean Patrick Flannery, like I would get his understanding and his side of it. So I was hearing about from Michael was telling me about Getty, Andrew Getty, and Donovan was telling me all about Sean Patrick at the same time. So
dude, it's so funny. I will tell you this: if you see Sean Patrick Flannery in a fight, don't call him powder. You will get fucking choked to the brink of death. He is a legit badass. So we were
with electrical powers.
I knew him, and I was like, oh shit, Sean Patrick Flannery's in this fucking movie. Yeah. And I was like, so I was there probably when he was there. I was like, he did not look like he did in this fucking movie.
Isn't that crazy?
At all. Yeah, that is insane to just carry on a movie for that length of time. You talked about when we did the Filmmaker Friday interview about how, like, even at the stage you're at with Pancakes, which I mean, year and a half, whatever, you're like, get this fucking thing away from me. I'm so fucking over it. The level of commitment to this is insane. And I feel like maybe in the opening, you're like, I see the tortured artistic thing coming out. And then the movie devolves into like Sean Patrick Flannery's like, this antique mirror is going right in the middle of your room. And he's like, I hate it. I'll never like it. And you're like, what just happened? What are we doing?
It fits the stain of the windows.
Yeah, Sean Patrick Flannery's like, do you know nothing of real estate? It's all about where the mirror is and what the grain of the wood is. And I was like, I guess I'll take your word for it. You're building a reality here.
It fits what did he say? It fits the milieu of the, what did he say?
Yeah, and then the camera just whips through a hamster tunnel, and you're like, all right, buckle in. This is what we're doing.
The hamsters, by the way, which never come back into play.
I know. I was like, are we the hamsters? Is that the audience is the hamsters? That's what we're doing.
There's so much wild dream imagery, and I guess that's the cover of it. That it's all a part of his subconscious, or you can bring in these elements.
Okay, let's start here. Where to start? I don't fucking love movies that do the you never know what it's real.
Yeah.
Shit, I think it's such a cop-out and just stupid storytelling technique. I actually think this one solves it pretty well by the end. I feel like what I took from the movie is that this is, what we're watching is the base reality. And when he's talking to the mirror, and Frederick Koehler is fucking awesome in this movie.
He is.
And really fucking sells the shit out of that, despite like being foisted with this unfortunate baggage of acting.
Yeah.
He's
no
fucking great in
that no studio would ever allow, which is like another thing that you have to look at. Like, this movie was $6 million, but because it was completely self-funded, no one was telling Getty no on anything, including having a radio as your number one. You know, it's like, maybe this is not what you should do. But he actually thought he wanted to do, man. He wanted to do horror. Getty, and this is the crazy thing, is Getty wanted to do a horror movie because he thought it would sell and that it would be easier to make. And 15 years later, that did not work out for him.
But weirdly, I do think this movie's pretty successful, right? Once you like eschew the dream state shit, because it kind of comes back at the end when Flannery's walking around and the giant Matthew McGorry's like grabbing him, and I'm like, oh no. Yeah. Oh no, we're doing it again. This was all like a big fishy and fucking dream. But they keep the reality real, right? One of the things that I thought, if you were talking about this on the Messed Up Movies podcast, this movie takes a fucking hard turn, right? Like, we start off with these, like, this is an IQ test, brother. They give you meat. You got to kill a cat. Because his whole mission in the movie, which again is one of those you're like, ooh, boy, is this where it is? He's like, our mission, says the evil Meyer version, we got to fix that brain, brother. And he's like, dope, I'm in. And he's like, go kill a cat because you eat meat. This is a basic IQ test. And he goes, yes, that math adds up. When they cut to the cat, I was like, no, get the fuck out of here. No. That fucking sound effect they do with the cut, I was just like, oh, shit. Like,
I love how, and also like for a movie that is that seems like it's going to be really long and slow, because it is like plotting in some places, mostly where
there are definitely some moments you pause it and you're like, Jesus Christ, how do we still have an hour left of this?
Yeah, like when Dina Meyer and Sean Patrick Flannery are talking, like I feel like those go on
every time,
and it makes no sense. And like,
Sean Patrick Flannery has like the weirdest subplot where it's like, I want my brother in a hospital, but a nice one. Right. They throw CPS in. His girlfriend kind of hates him, and he's a bad boyfriend. I was like, what does this have to do with Meyer reality? It's like, this is just a shitty normal reality I don't want to spend any scenes in.
I think that whole thing is just a setup that he like goes out and has dinners and like has friends so that then when Frederick Koehler kills everyone in their small community,
when he's like doing the weirdest version of Tim Allen's Tool Time, he can have some space.
Yeah, that's incredible, and we will need to speak about that. But yeah, like the movie, just like again to jump to the end to explain what's happening. Sean Patrick Flannery caused his brother was a prodigy, so we're told that Frederick Koehler was actually a prodigy.
IQ off the charts. Yeah,
they wrote papers about him. He was in the news. Like this is what we're told, and. So he was like such a big deal, and he was the younger brother, 6 years old at the time. And Sean Patrick Flannery, he is jealous, and so he pushes him downstairs or hits him with something. We see a bat at one point.
A fist, it could be any number of things. Yeah,
something happened where he did this, and then all of the faces that Frederick Koehler writes on the whiteboard at the beginning, everything goes dark, and he's in the dark place. And so he's gone, and now his other is trying to come back out. All right. So Sean Patrick Flannery is set up as being like this jealous brother at first. And I think also like the movie does a really good job of saying that it might be because he was so stupid. Sean Patrick Flannery is like the most oblivious, idiot in the entire movie. Like he might actually be the
fucking nailed that. Yeah.
Like it is uncanny, like the amount of like he doesn't like so many things. The not realizing that his brother is in the basement doing taxidermy. When he's got books, he comes down and sees all the books on tape of taxidermy. Yeah. He hears banging downstairs. It smells bad, and he comments on all of this. Yeah. And then Frederick Koehler is just like, no, the books are messed up. I don't want to do that.
Well, and someone asks him, what's he building? What's he working on? I don't know.
Well, he goes, it's weird. He's never had a skill before, and now it's like he's a master carpenter.
Because
I don't know if it's good or if I should be worried. And it's like, there's only one answer. Be worried. Like, this is not a normal... Like,
especially with the taxidermy things, the bad smell. But no. But I saw him...
You're a parent too, right? If you came home and you're like, son, your room smells an awful lot like death.
Don't go down there. Don't go down there. Don't go down there.
Where did you get all these 16-penny nails? What's happening?
Yeah, exactly. Where did he get the tools? Where did he get the tool belt that he thinks makes him look like a carpenter?
Sean Patrick Flannery in his silk shirts doesn't look like he has a cadre of tools lying around. Yeah, things are afoot.
He's always putting a tie on. He's always looking good for some job that he does not have. Like,
literally
I don't understand.
This is a fake it till you make it strategy. I'm pretty sure.
Except that they live in a mansion, so I think they're doing pretty well. So yeah, like that character, it almost makes sense. It's like Sean is he's trying to be nice to his brother because he caused this accident, right? And so he feels bad about it. But yeah, he should not be in charge of anyone at all.
Yeah, the movie starts and they do this subplot where like a child protective services lady comes and is just like immediately like being a real piece of shit, right? Like just coming at him and you're like, what the hell, man? Like, they can just do this. And Sean Patrick Flannery's like, I am upset. They can just call me and you show up, blah, blah. And you're like, yeah, fucking get her. And then like 20 minutes later, you're like, I think someone's an angel. I think maybe heaven called.
But also, like, that also goes to show how big of an idiot he is, because obviously Dina Meyer, like, she called. Like,
yeah.
She's the only one in the room when he's like, I'm going to break the mirror. I hate the
I've
mirror.
been put in that very hold by Sean Patrick Flannery. That is not acceptable. That is an unacceptable arm lock.
He arm locks him, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like, it's not like he was trying to hurt him, but for some reason she is scandalized by it and runs off. And the very next scene, the social worker shows up and says, we heard you've been violent with your brother. And it's
he's like, what? The arm lock? Is that?
And who?
What?
No. He's like, who said that? Who told you? So someone can just call you and say that, and you don't even like.
It's an odd bit of world building. It's like, how many times have you done this that you can't pinpoint exactly where this happened?
Like, your girlfriend told on you because she doesn't want your weird brother around the house, and she wants you to move on. And he doesn't put it together. And it's just like, from then on, I think he makes the weirdest decisions. Like when he mistakes, like, let's just go into it. When he mistakes his therapist for like the giant guy who like tries to crush his hand, or when he confuses
whose fucking head is literally the size of the whole therapist.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on. And then he goes into the bikini ice cream shop. And there's another, there's a grandmother basically who
she gets the uniform. Woman. The uniform is the barely covering the tits like a scarf. Like, they just hang that up in the back like an ice cream apron, apparently. But she's like 50
you look
years
so
old.
much. Oh, you look so much like her. It's like, no, like, no, Sean Patrick.
It's like, dude, stop with the fucking charisma, dude. Your girlfriend's right here.
Yeah, so like that, like that character is kind of set up as being dumb. So there is like, if that is a choice, like if that is an actual choice and he is made to be dumb, then, you kind of get that as a child. He resented his brother. I feel like it's mostly a movie of resentment. Everyone resents everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so then it makes some kind of sense that, he always did hate his brother, and now this is his, he is trying to make good on it. So I guess actually, that kind of tracks.
It is an interesting thematic element, right? Because one of the stuff that works the best in the movie, right, is with Frederick Koehler and Matthew Berryman. And it's all about how he hates what he is now, right? There's a resentment of self constantly present when we're watching the mirror, right? And I think some of those where he's like questioning, why did you make me do this? Why did I do this, right? And the mirror's kind of walking him through why you see this resentment building. And one of the things I really liked, brief interlude, I love the way they use Matthew Berryman in this. I feel like he's one of those actors that a lot of roles he takes felt very exploitative and mean to him, right? Like even in Rob Zombie, I think he was in Devil's Rejects, right? Where it's just like, oh, he's the guy who fucks chickens. And you're like, all right, I get it. Like, it's nice that he was a fan and gave him work, but you're like, it must have been nice to just be like, just come be a monster, and we're not just going to like kind of make fun of you for what you are and look like. He actually plays this very, like, it kind of had like a Karloff element to it, right? Like there's a lot of like yearning and sadness in the eyes that when Frederick Koehler takes it and then is, the more evil, smart version of Dennis, I think the blending of all the shit with, like, that's where the movie sings, is when Dennis is doing Dennis stuff. Yeah,
and if it was just that, I think that this movie would be much more effective. Yeah. It is definitely the other stuff that we've already addressed that kind of brings down the story. But Frederick Koehler being kind of like, kill a cat. Okay, now they've been feeding you children. Kill a child. That's the next one. And then just kill. And then after a while, he's killing, like when they go to the restaurant or whatever, the
nautical Chuck E. Cheese
with paper plates that have paper plates.
I noticed that killed me. Yeah, because he does that whole demonstration, right?
Let me
tell you how gears work, and it's like, God damn it.
So actually,
I was like, where did the paper plate come from? What kind of restaurant are they at?
The worst restaurant. No kids there at all. Like, this is just for grown-ups to go to.
It's just an FBI sting, right? Like it's a front.
Exactly. So, but when they go do that, they're like, oh, how he's really in good spirits today. And then they just hard cut to him murdering a guy in the bathroom
in the stall,
who was sitting on the stall with his pants up with a fucking belt, like a tight dad belt.
He was doing something in that stall.
That guy, we're told that it's okay that he got brained and thrown out the window.
Yeah, I think he deserved it, whatever he was doing. But like, by that point, he's completely come unhinged. And I think that is the last, well, then we get the...
and he just throws that fucking dude out the window. I was like, does the fucking, Crab Shack not check the bushes for dead bodies? Like,
I don't even know. Insane. Like, they establish that he's killing so that and then taxidermying for his final story that he's going to tell his brother, this stage play that he's going to reveal to his brother. I don't know how did he go back for that body? Is that like a real, like,
yeah, he's like, I got to make a pit stop. And he's like, all right, fine. It's like, God, he's really jostling the trunk around. What's happening? Like, what?
I don't understand the mechanics of how he's doing all of this.
I want a big prize. Hold the car. It's like,
but we also start to break with reality then too. And I think like anytime he's near a mirror, that we can kind of understand that the dream scenario kind of bleeds into reality. So he then talks to himself in the mirror in the bathroom. And then when he comes out, he sees the bikini ice cream girl, who's dead. And we get full nudity in this movie. Just suddenly full nudity.
But like also, so this is like one of those things horror movies love to do. It's like, you got to have tits in it, right? It's a horror movie. This might be like the weirdest tit setup we've ever seen, right? Like, this is following when Dennis goes to the ice cream shack and he's like, I can't read or write, but take down this dictation. It's like, you want to have sex with me and have kids and you think I'm super hot.
You have sound or hot body and whatever he says.
And it's insane. And then all of a sudden he's like Spider-Man on the vents and you're like, all right, she just gets fucking violently mashed by a car.
Yeah.
It is odd to then bring her back in this fucking stall of this masturbatorium, right? Where this dad just got murdered, not going to the bathroom. And just be like, what if we brought her back, had full frontal, but like, we made it very clear that she's a dead body.
Yeah, corpse makeup, full boob.
Yeah, and she's makeup. Like, I'm just a sack of meat now. All my bones is broken. I was like, is this working for anyone? Like, who is this for?
Well, and then she turns into a spider or something and crab.
That's
walks.
When I was like, this is for me. That moment, I was very into. But
yeah, I mean, all the effects are pretty impressive. I mean, it's varying results, right? But you have
that's where you see the $6 million for sure.
Yeah, they're doing stop motion. They're doing real animatronics, practical effects. It's all some VFX. It's just like a crazy mismatch of imagery.
Yeah, that opening with the zipper, it's very like a Tool music video. And you're like, all right, that's pretty fucking cool.
It's very effective. Like him climbing into the skin is very, very well done.
Yeah, it was a great image, man. There's just so much bizarre shit. And it kind of leads us to this kabuki theater ending, which I actually thought was pretty fun, right? We kind of finish, like, he kills the girlfriend and literally blows her brains out with a fucking air compressor, which I thought was hilarious.
Oh, I thought it was a fire extinguisher, but it wasn't an air compressor.
Some kind of fucking focused air, right?
It was fire extinguisher, yeah.
And that sets us up for a ventriloquism story, which inherently is just creepy.
Okay. Also, it again indicates how dumb the brother is. Because he shows up, like he gets the reveal that the books weren't switched. It's the worst.
Well, because at first he's like, we switched books, and then it's like, gotcha, we didn't, but we did. And I was like, what is happening here? Like, fucking
get me But it's okay if you practice taxidermy the right way. It's just dead animals down there.
He also never stops, and he's like, hey, Dennis, who the fuck are you hanging out with? Right. But you're just getting all of these fucking bags of horrifying shit.
Doesn't make any sense. But then, so Dina Meyer steals the car for some reason and drives off to go get Frederick Koehler for the good news. I don't know what, that they're all going to move in.
She's moving in, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, this happy, we're led to believe there's going to be a happy resolution. We know that's not happening.
Yeah.
So she shows up and then she hears a baby crying, and goes upstairs in the mansion to find a stroller where Frederick Koehler then just magically appears out of into a full person.
I forgot about that.
Don't I? Yeah, which is a great looking effect. It's really cool. I have no idea in what reality that takes place in, or how I'm supposed to explain that. Yeah. So then she gets killed.
Yeah, he's doing like mirror magic where he is a cop reflected, but then slashes his throat, and he's like, "Haha, it's me." And I was like, "Wow, he's really expanding the superpower base right now."
Again, I feel like it's whenever he's around a mirror, reality just bends. Like no matter what, things just happen, and you're supposed to go with it. But after all of that, Sean Patrick Flannery is like, oh no, my brother is bad. The taxidermy stuff, he's up to no good. All of my friends have disappeared. Now my soon-to-be wife has gone into the dragon's lair. I need to go and save her. He rushes back home. He tells the other guy, he takes his phone. Sean Patrick takes his phone, puts it in his pocket, and tells the other guy, call the police. And the guy says, I don't want to. And he's like, do it anyway. Send the cops
that
to my
guy,
house.
they play him as another not genius, and he's just like, I'm going to avoid this. And you're like, that guy's the smartest dude in the movie. Yeah, I just don't want to be involved in whatever the fuck this is.
Yeah, I'm out.
How did Sean Patrick Flannery make that revelation? Like suddenly it just all clicked in for him that what was going on.
Probably because he got the information to make that decision like a week ago, and this is how long it took him to process.
Dumbest man. Yes, we are dealing with mentally challenged people in this movie, but they are accomplishing so much more than Sean Patrick is. He is doing nothing. He's awful. But he rushes home, and then he sees like signs leading to a performance. And he's like, Dennis! He knows something bad is happening. Dennis! And then so he goes in, and then there's just like a dark room with a chair illuminated in the center, and he goes, I should probably sit in this chair. Yeah. Sits in the chair.
Don't bother that it's glistening from whatever Dennis did to fucking put
and he doesn't notice that there's sticky stuff.
Oh no!
And then the lights come on, and he sees his soon-to-be wife sitting on Dennis's lap, and she looks weird, and he just kind of like smiles, like, "Oh, they're gonna put on a performance for me." It's like you're rushing back because you know that your brother is a psychopath.
Does my brother have his hand up my fiance's ass? But they have costumes. I'm going to sit and be a courteous audience member.
And he's just smiling. It's like,
there's etiquette to theater, right? I know that much.
And then Frederick Koehler starts speaking and doing both, like, narrating and doing the girlfriend's voice. Speaking, we have to say, in a normal voice, in his mirror voice.
Because now this is the mirror image of him has taken over.
Yeah, so
I think in that moment when he's just like glaring at Sean Patrick Flannery,
it's awesome looking.
It is fucking horrifying.
Yes,
like, it is such good performance because he's not seemingly doing a lot, right? He's not actively engaging in the moment, but his eyes are telling you this full lifetime of pain and torture and misery of watching from behind the eyes with the fucking handicap that Flannery gave to him.
But
he sells the shit out of that moment.
He does, and you've never seen him be so still and to talk so deliberately. And Sean Patrick Flannery does not notice that his brother, who has not spoken like this since he was 6 years old, is suddenly speaking like this. He's just going with it. He's not like...
Yeah, he accepts it almost like Ebenezer Scrooge is like, I guess we're doing Ghost tonight. Like, at no point does he, like, fight back against it. He's just like, all right, here we go.
It's like, all right, my soon-to-be wife is sitting on my brother's lap, and my brother is completely has solved his seeming Down syndrome. All right, let's see what this performance is about.
Yeah, and then it like monsters just start fucking coming out. The CPS lady's now like a spider. Like, there's a lot of
even
cool
before
shit.
I think before that happens, maybe the singular most disturbing image in the movie for me is when you've been seeing kind of like this wide shot of Frederick with the girlfriend on his lap, and then at some point after the girlfriend is negging Sean Patrick Flannery. And Sean's like, wait, what is this? I don't know what this is. We get a close up. We get our first close up of Frederick and Dina Meyer, and we see that Frederick's hand is actually, we see his fingers inside of her mouth, and we get this like,
dude, that like dummy head is fucking gross. So this is great. We like to always, as we come to the end here, hone in on what we think the most messed up moment in the movie is. To me, the most messed up moment in this movie that separates it above, it feels like a movie that's begging me to not like it often.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a moment in the middle when he first goes to get the child, right? And we know he's got to make this decision. Yep. They make a choice in that I thought was fascinating. So we just see this little cute boy swinging, right? It's like a Home Alone kind of looking kid, right? And all of a sudden we see Dennis behind a tree, and he's got what looks like garden shears. When they switch to POV, right? So now for the first time in the movie, we are in Dennis's eyes as the demon, or as Dennis being controlled Malkovich style by the demon, walking up to that kid. You were forced into the audience to just be like, no fucking way. No fucking way. We hard cut to black, and when we come back, he's putting a kid in the freezer. Not even the same kid, because there's at least 3 others in there. Yep. And that's the moment to me that is so messed up, and it teaches, it's the movie telling me there's more to appreciate here than it seems at the surface. That is a moment of true depravity and horror that made me uncomfortable. I was fucking scared and unsettled sitting on my couch watching that.
And the way he just throws him in.
Just fucking dead meat,
Well, and then it's that conversation of like, I killed a child. This doesn't make me feel any better. Like, why did I do this? And kind of
why did you make me
it.
do this?
Yeah.
I don't feel smarter. Yeah.
Yeah. And that there's like an economy to how all of that happens. Like, it goes from the cat to the kid to the friends. Like, that all happens very quickly, and that is like surprisingly well done. And creepy and eerie. And and as he confronts the mirror Dennis and asks, like, why are we doing this? Like, just why are we doing this? And he gets he really does get conned, and you see him like almost like a believable story of like, well, you did this and now you do this, and you did this and now you do this. And you see him get walked to these like horrible places and have that doubt. And the other him is just like, hey, you want to talk like me? You want to use these big words like your brother does? You want to be smart?
You want to get his jokes? Yeah, boom.
Yeah, you prove to them that we're not dumb.
It's this metaphorical watching him kill the last innocent vestiges of Dennis that could have been, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was a moment that just rises a lot above what some of the rest of the movie's doing. Like, the end is fun with the fucking claymations and the monsters and this and that. But those moments of just like real horror of this man yearning to escape his lot in life, being led by evil thoughts, forces, whatever the movie's telling us this thing is, the dark place, leading him into these moments are fucking truly unnerving. And that's why I love horror movies, even horror movies that are not maybe quantifiably great, right? They're not going to win awards, whatever. You give me scenes like this, and that whole ride is worth it to me, right? And this movie has plenty, even at the end when he does the whole big theater and he gets his brother, and then the monsters start grabbing him, and we realize it's cops, and he's now sitting in a padded room doing the psycho
shot. That's such a good shot. I feel like when they climb beautiful on him and knock him to the stage, and so Frederick Koehler, who's been in charge of all this, suddenly he is thrown to the ground, and you're like, what? Now they're attacking him? I don't get it. And he's pulled off, and as he gets pulled off, we kind of travel with him to a mirror and then pass through that mirror, and we see that it's the police.
The hard reality is back.
It's like a weird, it's like this weird thing where you're like, you kind of have to reconsider what you've just seen. And it also leaves questions about like what actually went down, how did it go down, what are we, like what happened there, and you're never given any of that. So it's also just like unnerving in that they don't tie everything up with a bow. They just kind of leave all this unsettling shit for you to figure out.
Yeah, the facade of the movie falls away, and we're just sitting in there watching this guy create this multiverse in his head, where this isn't the real me who's in jail. And then it cuts to the Dennis we followed screaming in pain and misery.
Yeah.
At what he's become. And it's, again, I think if you're kind of thinking of this movie and like the things to keep in your head to like really how to kind of sink into this movie, right? To me, everything in the movie that works is based around Frederick Koehler's just incredible performance. I think paired with Matthew Berryman being expertly deployed to give us this kind of ghastly, mirror image monster, right?
Yeah, we didn't even talk about his mirror, like his mirror scenes.
Just him like pulling the mirror down as he's laying on the floor and talking to himself. Like Frederick Koehler is the alpha and the omega that makes this movie so much better than it has any right ending up.
Yeah. And unfortunately, he's doing it playing a character that is very problematic.
Yeah. Sometimes in acting, you are handed a role and you must make of it what you can. And he did a fucking exceptional job. And again, there's a lot of great imagery. Yeah, for a long fucking time, for his entire adult life. I don't know, man. I thought it was an interesting movie that it made some good decisions that saved it from what it could have been. Yeah. So I thought it was a really fun ride, man. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie.
I think if you enjoyed it, you should definitely do a little more digging on the backstory of it, because, you know, that is where like some of the true horror comes out. Because like I said, as independent filmmakers, you see a lot of what happened to Getty, or I see a lot of it in myself. Just, you know, the perfectionism, trying to get certain things, and just feeling like he spent his entire life. This is his directorial debut. This is the grand sum of all of his filmmaking journey, and it's kind of a mid movie. You know, like it's a very
at $6 million, right? It's a lot of that, like Jesus Christ.
And so and he would get money. He would get money every month from like his mother, and so like he would spend a lot of money on the movie, and then he would run out of money, and then people would go away. And then the next month he would come back and start doing stuff again. So it was like kind of piecemeal, but he had an entire editing bay in his house. He had people come all the time, like 9 to 5 were in there, like editing, working. So this was like his life. Frederick's bedroom is Andrew's bedroom, is Andrew Getty's bedroom.
Damn, dude.
The entire set with the animatronics and all of that at the end, and the Chuck E. Cheese, the nautical Chuck E. Cheese. That's all in his house. And so he just built these sets and would spend like, you know, $100K on building these things, and just have them in his house while he was having parties and doing whatever. Yeah. So this was his
Dennis,
life.
He got lost in this reality.
This seeped into his real life for this period of time. While he was struggling from meth and heroin addiction. And so, yeah, it's like, this could make you go crazy. And he never got it out. You know, like he saw a close to final cut of the film before his death and was in good spirits about it. But, you know, he never saw the fruits of his labor. So, you know, cautionary tale.
Yeah.
It's a really wild movie, a messed up movie for sure, with a messed up backstory. Before we wrap, I want us to pick messed up moment. I have a couple candidates here. I think I know what Griffey's is going to be. Maybe I know what Nathan's is going to be. Perhaps I could be the tiebreaker. Let's just say mouth eyes in the beginning.
That was just hot. I was like, shockingly, I learned something about myself. I was like, oh man, dude.
Zipper back, whatever that was pretty messed up, pretty disturbing imagery. Throwing the kids in the freezer, we talked about that.
That's the number one. That's the most fucked up thing in the movie.
I think it's between that and the ventriloquism.
I think the ventriloquism for me gets me.
Yeah, I'm kind of split on both. I think
she's an adult woman that walked right into the buzzsaw face first. I feel like
absolutely they all did. Everyone was just like,
not that kid. That kid was just swinging in the middle of like a Folgers coffee commercial and got fucking chucked in a freezer.
I will agree that one's more unnerving, but
it's the POV that does it.
It is the shot. I think it's the POV and the coldness in which he dumps the body.
Yeah,
it's like
it's so fucking brutal.
It's just well done. I mean, it's just very well done in a movie that has some striking images, but for the most part is kind of a bland looking. I feel like whenever there's a conversation, he either goes out of the way, Getty goes out of the way to try and spice it up by like the moving shots during like the talk with the the social worker, which just serve as nothing, like bland conversations. They don't work. But for
coverage
visuals,
is just coverage sometimes.
But for when he had those striking visuals, sometimes it's like the best you could possibly get. And it's almost unfortunate that this man never got to make another movie because those images are incredible. And that's why I say most messed up for me is the ventriloquist head thing. just because somehow cutting to that close up and then seeing things completely different than you saw in the wide is startling. It's like we know she's dead, but when you see how gross it is, it's like it's still creepy. It gets under my skin.
I'll be the tiebreaker here. So as far as the kids in the freezer, really that perked me up.
That's a weird reaction.
Wow.
But like a shot of coffee on a cold winter's day, Heath was ready to
It was two things on that. It was better done in the house that Jack built. And there was a moment
before that's not fucking fair. That's not fucking fair.
There was a moment before that
one of the best directors ever did it better than the fucking
I vote for ventriloquism because of all the same reasons Nathan said.
Well, that was done better by Goosebumps when I was in elementary school.
But here's the thing with the freezer and the kids. So there's one messed up moment that we didn't talk about that I couldn't get over. And by the time we got to the freezer kids, I was still kind of laughing about it. When he holds up the dog that he killed, the little Pomeranian or whatever. And he says, "You're holding a new paintbrush, Dennis."
Yeah.
Oh my God. So
woof. Yeah.
For me, we'll say ventriloquism, the most messed up moment, and a whole movie filled with them. So thanks, Nathan, for bringing a very messed up movie to us.
I'm sorry, guys. I
loved it.
I'm fully aware that the movie is almost more problematic than it is interesting. But I think the interesting parts and the backstory of it, like I said, this I'll see what you guys think later, but this is a cursed movie. This is a movie that
fucking sounds like
something lasts. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it. For The Evil Within. Thank you, Nathan. We will have all of Nathan's details in the show notes below. Find Nathan online. Be ready for House of Haunted Pancakes. All the good stuff. You can come back and talk about that when that is out. That'll be super fun. All right, guys. We will see you Friday for another filmmaker discussion.